Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm having my coffee still, waking up. I just wanted to go into a little flow with the guides and talk a little bit about the crown activations we've been feeling, the opening that we're having in our DNA, some of the experiences that I've been having, and share an interpretation of some of the messages I've been receiving as well. First thing I want to talk about is the crown tingles, opening up in the skull. A couple days ago, I was getting activations coming up through my feet. When I say this, doesn't mean you guys are experiencing this, and that's okay. Sometimes we get these downloads and activations. I'm going to call them activations because they don't necessarily follow up with a bunch of information that comes through. And that's kind of what download sounds like. But I like to think of it as our bodies opening to hold more light, to receive more light, to feel more light, to feel lighter. So that's what I refer to as activation. And what I do is activating. Sometimes what other people do is activating. If you're going and getting energy work done, you are activating certain things in the body that may have been dormant, certain understandings. You're opening up things and channels that might have been in lockdown, that might have been held in distorted patterns, energy that was stuck. So essentially what I'm seeing is we're all receiving frequency constantly. The more we can be open to receiving it, the more we're going to experience it in a higher, less fearful way. So for me, I had experienced a beautiful cloud this week. The magic, you guys, that's another thing that's been happening. Pay attention to nature, especially right now. Nature is really loud right now if we're listening. The birds have just been loud. I've had birds just fly right in front of me constantly lately. And it's almost like I had a woodpecker fly past me the other day, and it was like slow motion, like out of the Matrix. It flew and I looked at it and it looked at me, and we were like making eye contact, and then it just went. Felt like I was in a movie. Those things are, if I would have been looking down at my phone, or listening to a podcast, but not really paying attention, just being in my head about it, I wouldn't have noticed that. I would have just been in la la land. So it's important to notice these things. I get asked a lot, well, how come I'm not seeing magic? You are. Well, let me rephrase that. There's magic all around us. You just might not be seeing it because you're not paying attention. And I do get asked sometimes, well, yes, I am paying attention. Maybe you think you are, but maybe you're not paying attention in the best possible way to allow yourself to feel what's happening. How do we do that? Relax, breathe, unplug from our phones and social media as frequently as possible, at least as many times as we can throughout the day. Movement, breath work, get into water. These are all things I share with people, especially if I'm doing energy work with someone. For some people, it's more important for them to ground than it is to go for a swim. But everybody is different. So pay attention to what your body is asking you for. So in my case, the magic this week has been crown tingles, back of the skull. I get that when I channel anyways, but it was extremely heightened this week. And my guides have been talking about the DNA unfurling, basically. They've been talking for years about the tubes opening, and what's written inside of these scrolls is being read. And so that's my way of my guide saying our DNA is opening, it's expanding, it's evolving, it's talking to us. And I'll share some links to some other teachers who I've been listening to that are saying the same thing I'm saying, just in a different way, and maybe more clearly than I have been. So I'll share them with you guys so that any of you that are going, what is she saying? Maybe by listening to them, you'll see what I'm saying too. So we're receiving these activations that can sometimes move into be downloads. We might get these like moments of ahas. We might have really creative ideas that come in. We might be getting nothing. Maybe it's just crickets. That's okay too. Some of us are experiencing this in a much more physical, palpable way because that's our superpower. Some, it's nothing physical, it's only ideas or visions, or we're hearing sounds differently than we did before, which is physical. But what I'm saying is a lot of people are actually being activating themselves by letting go of a lot of the heavy, dark, stagnant energy that we've been swimming in our whole lives. So, looking for the rainbow after the rainstorm, looking for these magical things, paying attention to the birds, going outside and just feeling the air on your skin can offer magic in the mundane, which I've said for a long time. That's where the magic begins. If we're not noticing little things, believe it or not, we're not even going to notice the big things. So I've had moments where I've just been in my head, and all of a sudden I look over and there's this amazing nature show going around all around me, and I just haven't even been paying attention. There was an eagle one day that was right. I just felt called to look up because I listened. I heard the blue jays going crazy, and this eagle just flew right past me, going after some blue jays. He didn't get them, but it was that to me was incredibly like, wow. And then I used that. I'm like, okay, eagle, higher vision. Carrie, have higher vision. It's right here in front of you. Pay attention. Look bigger, because that's what eagle represents: freedom, higher vision, soaring above the stuff, looking down and seeing more than what's right in front of you, but also having that higher vision right in front of you. So these are some of the messages that have been coming through. I've been seeing these incredible aurora type activity in the clouds, above the clouds. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen it. I'm sure there's a name for it in meteorology. I like to pretend that it's a spaceship coming out of the cloud, emitting rainbows and just showing itself so I can see it. That's another part of my message. Use your imagination. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but I like to pretend because it's fun. Remember when you were a kid and you used your imagination and you pretended things? It's not like I'm going to go out and say, I saw the spaceship the other day and it was this and it was that. But if I were 3 or 4 years old, I certainly would. And the guides have been saying, play, write a story. This rainbow spaceship was coming out of the clouds. And, maybe that leads us into a children's story and it's just for fun. Thankfully, in my case, I was inside the house and my husband pointed out, Carrie, you've got to come out and look at this cloud. You're going to love it. And I did. It was incredible. I'll have to post a picture on social media. In fact, I think I did. I don't know if I did or not. I'll probably post it on YouTube and Instagram. So when I allowed myself to stare for about 20 minutes at this magical experience, take pictures, I sat in the grass, I had this incredible moment where it felt like this energy was moving through my feet, into my legs, up my entire body. And I had a second where I thought, am I going to levitate? That was how palpable and strong that sensation was. And that was the beginning of this week. And I allowed it back in 2018, 2017, when I first started experiencing these things, I might have freaked out. I might have been like, whoa, what is happening? I'm sharing this because I don't know what stage you're at. You might be in the stage of everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. Or you might be in a stage of I'm totally freaked out. What's going on? I don't like this. So wherever you're at in this ladder of ascension, if we'll call it that, in this level of expansion is where you're at. But my guides have invited everybody to let go of the fear. What are we really afraid of? Energy? What are we afraid of? Something that looks scary? So starting to let go of that and be in the moment is so important to allow this magic that is happening all around us to be felt, experienced, recognized, acknowledged, processed, integrated. And that gives us more nutrients, right, in our soup, in our recipe of life. So that's happening. The crown tingles experienced really palpable yesterday. It might feel like tickles on the scalp. You might feel itchy scalp. My back of my skull just kind of lit up. And that's what the guides are sharing with me, is that our DNA is unfurling. Did I say this? I've repeated myself about this, so I'm just going to say it again. They show me tubules in the body, maybe mitochondria, opening, and the inscription that is written in the scribes, I'm seeing scrolls, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, right, is opening and revealing itself. It's revealing the nutrients that are held and encapsulated in the divinity of the DNA. And then what happens is we begin to open to more of our innate technology that's inside of us. It's just tightly wound in packages, in packets of, I'm hearing parcels of chromosomes and DNA and transcription and liposomes was what my guides were talking about the other day. I would encourage everybody to, so what happens is I get these downloads, activations, whatever, I write, I channel, and then inevitably somebody else will share the same information in a completely different way that might be more understandable than what I'm sharing. So I invite everyone, the person that came into my awareness that I follow, part of the reason I follow other people is because, and this has happened for you guys sometimes, I'll share something and somebody will share with me, whether it's in session or just in comments, like, oh, I experienced this yesterday, or this was the dream I had the other night, or wow, I've been trying to understand what I've been feeling. So it's not just you that's going through this, not just me that's going through it, but we're all going through it in our own ways. So I had shared this information, and then Pam Gregory, you guys watched Pam Gregory, she's just adorable, British lady who's an astrologer, and she's just always got great guests and things like that. I don't always listen to the full videos that are posted from some of the people that I follow on social media, but I pick up snippets and it's like, bing, that's what I've been talking about. That's what the guides have been sharing. And then what'll happen is if I watch that video, it helps me better understand what the messages are that I've been receiving. And that's what this is all about, is community. It's all about us sharing this information. So it's, and I always bring up my algebra class in high school, right? I always share that, I was taking class, couldn't seem to get better than a C plus. My teacher was frustrated, I was frustrated. And out of the kindness of his heart, he transferred me into a different class with a different teacher, and I got an A. All of a sudden, clicked. So what I'm sharing may not make any sense for you, but I'm going to share other people, because then what they share, it's like sometimes I can say galactic and somebody will be like, what is that? And then somebody else will use the word angel and, oh, angel, I know what that is, or vice versa. So Pam Gregory had Dr. David Clements on. I will share that in the link below, and was talking about telomeres. It's exactly what I was talking about, but I just didn't have the word for it. So we're all kind of, and then she also referenced the angel. There's two angel ladies that I follow. They're talking about the same thing I'm talking about. And so I call them my higher guidance team, is a collective of frequencies and energies that are just beautiful higher vibration. It consists of angels, galactics, cosmic beings, my higher self, right? So we all are tapped into that in our own way. My mind tend to be a little bit more wordy and playing with language because that's what I enjoy. So I'll share the links. So I'll have a lot of links listed in this video. And Tucker, I think, is the angel. And then there's another woman who channels Archangel Raphael, who I also haven't watched the full video, was with Pam Gregory. So I'm going to share all those because they are saying the same thing that I've been sharing in a very different way and a very understandable way, maybe a little more digestible. So essentially, our DNA is changing, expanding, and the guides are telling me that in part it's because we're in a completely different realm. We're in a different realm of possibilities. And I'm in flow right now, so I'm just going to drop right in with the team. I feel like I'm missing a lot, but we'll go from there. So sometimes the energies shift and I just need to move, yawn. Just like doing energy work. I'm going to have some light language come through. Kiwa e shimaha aewaha niniki shiwa e kuaha makaine. Ia o shua ki nene o umaha ia ha shuko yaine he makaishi. Nene e oku ni wahe shua maha e nana ki a ia ha waha ni ushine. And while many are paying attention to changes going on in the world stage, we would invite you to pay attention to what is going on inside of you, for there is a world that is lighting up. There is energy that has yet to be discovered, if you will, not only within the human, but also within the framework of our reality or realm, the structure of reality that all of us are now embarking upon. For we have landed, if you will, into another zone, another template, another placement in the realms of the earthly living system. For this is a system, if you will, of energy that is reliant upon energy. Many of us have been cut off, if you will, from our original source of that energy. While that is true to in one story, from a bigger story, you have never been cut off, yet you have been taught in such a way that you would not play, that you would not recognize what is at play, that you would not necessarily be able to play with this other realm. And so the more we ignore the state of being present, the more we pay attention to the other states, if you will. You get where I'm going with that? I'm also seeing like the United States as well. Like if I look at that in my mind's eye, they're showing me a map that has boundaries, right? It's not all one. I see different states. And so we're paying attention, compartmentalization, and then different states of what some have been referring to control states, we'll say. And so we have been given back the control, one might say, or one might say we are taking back the control that we never really gave away. Or one might say we are learning how to play again. And this is giving us back the control that we have given away. Or one might say that we are taking back the controls within which we have access to that controls what we have access to, and so on and so forth. And yet, let us play with this for a moment. For the word control creates a feeling. It creates a sense of what many would feel lacking in, or many would feel being, I'm seeing like the remote controls in a game, but like a thumb on somebody. And so what I'm being shown is we have had this the whole time. But, okay, I'm being called to play with that word just briefly. So the word control on the AI overview on Google originates from the French word, okay, meaning to check or verify. A term used to describe a duplicate register for accounts. Now, I'm laughing about this because yesterday I was talking a lot about reflection, and I am going to talk a little bit about that again in a different, there's two things I want to bring up, but we'll come back to that. Oh, I'm being called to tie this all together. So contra is against, and rotulus or rotulus is a roll or a wheel. The concept of controlling, therefore, initially involved a system of checks and balances, mirroring the act of verifying accounts with a duplicate register. So I think this is really important because we get caught up in these roles where we feel as if we need control. So we need to have checks and balances in order to feel like we're in control of our lives. The irony is it's a mirror and it's checks and balances. And playing with this a little bit, it talks about it verifying something. It talks about over time, it expanded from its initial sense of verification to encompass broader concepts like domination, direction, and regulation. So I feel that a lot of people hear the word control and they want to, that they feel dominated, right? Or they want to dominate, right? Or it's a sense of, okay, I have control over my life, therefore I am regulating and I am creating a direction in which to follow. And there's nothing wrong with that. The guides have talked about letting go of the need to control. And that actually gives us more control because, again, we're then expanding out into a broader spectrum of what we have access to. And oftentimes we feel out of control because we're cutting ourselves off from that original access, which gives us the energy that's required to give ourselves direction, so to speak, if that makes sense. And this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the video, which is also allowing that energy to flow through us. When we get into a place of fear, we close off those channels, and that keeps us locked into a particular pattern. And as the guides have said before, that sometimes gives us a sense of control because we feel safe, even if we feel afraid. And I know that sounds like a dichotomy, and it is, but some people are afraid to change because they feel more comfortable doing the same things that they've always done, even if they're constantly in a place of fear. That's all they know. So a lot of people, that's all we've known. And so they operate from that state, going back to the state, that they operate from within those boundaries. And we're really expanding boundaries. We're beyond the old framework of reality at this stage of our development. We just don't always know it. So allowing ourselves to access these points of space relative to our dominion gives us an opportunity to create a dominion that is beyond the old framework and reality structure that we may have felt dominated in before. This will have a domino effect, meaning the more we open and expand into this broader spectrum of light and engage with it from a broader and more expansive space of feeling light, playful, we then break free of an old system or reality that had us locked into a place of limited availability. We have access to more and we become more available, meaning we are more able to play with time, to understand what is happening within our own mind, and to connect the remnants, if you will, that have so I'm being shown like our hearts, these. So I'm going to go back. The words that Dr. David Clements and what's her name, Pam Gregory used were telomeres. I don't know why my guides haven't used that word yet. Maybe because that's the word they're using to describe it. And my guides want to say yes, but it also means this. And I'm getting a big yes on that. So it's not just one thing. A lot of things are happening. And so this domino effect, it knocks down in a pattern and almost in a row, boom, 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 the limiting structures that we've been encased within. And then as that knocks it down, it opens up this space in our brain, in our social system, in our awareness. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like the domino effect is in everything. And so we begin to, oh, I'm being shown those heartstrings that before it was almost like, or synapses in the brain. So I'll just show you the picture that they're showing. Now you guys are probably really excited about my artwork. Bam! Sorry about the ring light, but that helps light up the board a little bit more. Okay, so there's the heart. Those are actually arms. And these are the brain telomeres or whatever. I see them as light fibers. I feel it's the antennae. Our pineal gland, the crystals in our brain have these fibers. And they're like fiber optic cables. And my guides call them fiber optics because what it does is it gives us the option and the optical ability to see more. So we open up through this connection. And what they had been showing me was before, these were kind of just like floating around and they weren't connected. Now these heartstrings are connecting to this, and then that's connecting to that. And there becomes this beautiful light. It's like synapses that now have a point of connection. And so the heart fibers expand, connect into, because it's all working together. It's not just the mind, just the heart, it's all connected in oneness. But we then connect all of that, all of those strands. And this also has to do with our DNA. And, we've been told before that we are walking portals. Well, this creates our portal activation. So if you think of synapses, and I would invite you to look this up, what it looks like when synapses are firing in the brain, it's like they're seeking and then they grow. And then when one grows, it's like branches on a tree. They keep growing out. And the more light they receive, the more ahas that we have, and the more connection we have, and the more we feel in attunement with the earth, the more those expand and grow. And this goes back, what I'm being shown is this restructures what we believe in, because we start to, rather than seeing is it becomes seeing is believing, because we start to see more. So what my guides have said before is believe, right? And then you'll see. And I know a lot of people have heard that, but I'm also hearing seeing is believing, because now we get to see more. And because we're seeing it, like my rainbow cloud, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. So what the guys were talking about the other day is because of that, we get to see more in the earth. We get to see more in science. We get to see more in each other. This gives us access to a higher foundation, which is a platform, which is a dominion, a landscape. And then when we connect those dots, when we connect those telomeres, when we connect those synapses and we fire, it creates a cohesive conductor. And now we're no longer conducting and operating from these frayed lines of wires, just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I feel so out of, it's like, and all of a sudden, we sense something is different within us, because it is. Once those senses come online, meaning connect the lines, the energy increases. The capability to be that energy increases and we become self-sustainable from one perspective. Now, in this human template, we still need water and food and light and connection to the earth. And just like a charge, you don't want a wire that's been loosened up in a storm to be floating around. You need to ground it. So this is all equally important. And so on and so forth. This is a continuous momentum. This is not something that just happens overnight, although we will say that this will happen for many overnight. For those of you who are feeling sad or down because your fellow brothers and sisters feel sad or down, we would invite you to recognize that in a heartbeat, in the moment of the beating of the heart coming online, a ripple effect occurs in the line, in the network, in the grid of the human that lights up the grid in such a way that you all sparkle. I'm seeing fireflies that start responding even brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. And it's like, whoa, I didn't know you were standing right there. I feel it, right? We feel part of something bigger than just us. And so we invite everyone who feels this message, who can receive these words in a cellular way, to feel into your own cells in such a way that you allow your energy to be all, I'm hearing all consuming. There's a play on word about that. It's like the rapture. It's like, ooh, that's a whole other can of worms. So this isn't a religious thing. It's an energetic thing. It's like this energy that just courses through the body and dissolves and opens and allows for a feeling of, oh, I'm here now. I'm present. I feel. And it's also about allowing ourselves to feel good, because a lot of people feel guilty about feeling good still. That's another video too in itself. So we will end on this note. We would invite you to continue to have an open invitation, meaning open the door to your heart. Let my love open the door. Feel into, what is that song? You guys know you can share. And when you feel these fibers, these tiny fibers of light start to ignite within the human, breathe into them. Breathe them and breathe, feel them breathing you. Feel them breathing into all of you, not just all of you as individuals and collectives in the human template that is the grid, but inside the human that is just you individually. Breathe it into your skull, your mind, your thoughts, your patterns, your frequency. So I'm seeing like, you know, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the causal body, the etheric body, the nesting dolls that we are, the templates that we are, you know, kind of fluid and moving through. Breathe it into all of that. And it's like a breathing, it's like an inhale and an exhale. And in doing this, you will find that all consuming. You will find that which was consuming us before no longer is able to remain intact. So this is like us versus them, dark versus light. And again, I'm being called to share that this is happening simultaneously. So they're saying it'll happen in a heartbeat. Have you guys ever seen that movie? I'm going to end on this note. Warm Bodies. It's a zombie movie. So, and it's gross. So I'm not encouraging you guys to watch it, but it's called Warm Bodies. And spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, it's old. It's an older movie, but essentially it's about a zombie who, and it's gross, but zombies aren't really, they're kind of cannibalistic, but it comes back to life, meaning its heart starts beating. And because his heart starts beating again, so too do all the other zombies start to come alive. And that's kind of what I'm saying. And I'm not calling us zombies, but let's face it, guys, we know people in our lives that are like, how are you just totally unaware of anything? I'm not saying that those people are necessarily going to have that same experience as what you and I are having. And you may not have the experience that I'm having. That's part of this individual uniqueness. But it will impact everyone, even if, and I'm hearing believe it or not, it's happening. It again, I'm being invited to say you're going to see it differently than somebody else will. You're going to hear it differently than somebody else will, but it is happening. And for some, it'll be small. For some people, it'll be huge. And that's in alignment with what that person came here to accomplish sometimes, or to experience, or to feel, right? Yeah. So that's the update. And there's so much more to come, you guys. I want to go back into molecular diffusion. Oh, I will read that one thing. So bear with me. I'll just read this from my previous video, a little bit more understanding on what my guides were trying to share. Once the concentrations, I'm reading molecular diffusion on Wikipedia, because this was from a message that my guides shared, or I'll be posting in a video probably Monday or Tuesday. Molecular diffusion is the motion of atoms, molecules, or other particles of a gas or liquid at temperatures above absolute zero. So the guides have been talking about, we're coming back to 0 point, which is like perfect creation. We're going to create from this space. And it's like, clear out the old. This is fresh. The rate of this movement is a function of temperature, viscosity of the fluid, size and density, or of their product mass of the particles. This type of diffusion explains the net flux of molecules from a region of higher concentration to one of lower concentration. So I'm using this as an analogy or metaphor, kind of both. But it's not necessarily that we're going from a higher vibration to a lower vibration. This has to do with concentration. From my perspective, it's a density thing. Once the concentrations, and here's the juice, are equal, the molecules continue to move. But since there is no concentration gradient, the process of molecular diffusion has ceased, and instead is governed by the process of self-diffusion. And I've been saying self-organization, it's total self-regulation, originating from the random motion of the molecules. Pause just for a second. Okay, almost done. So originating from the random motion of the molecules. So self-diffusion, okay? The result of diffusion is a gradual mixing of material such that the distribution of molecules is uniform. Since the molecules are still in motion, but an equilibrium has been established, the result of molecular diffusion is called a dynamic equilibrium. Now, in a phase with uniform temperature, absent external net forces acting on the particles, the diffusion process will eventually result in complete mixing. Now, this is describing something that is specific to molecular diffusion. My guides are saying use this as a way to describe what's happening within the collective. And what they're showing me is that we're in a phase where it seems random, okay? But what's happening is it's going to be governed by self-diffusion. And it's also moving into, I shouldn't have started this late in the video, but I will just end on this note. So basically, they're inviting me to play with the words. I know there's something deeper to this that I don't quite understand, and that's fine. I'm not here to go into the physics of it clearly, but basically they're saying play with the words. We are going into a space of dynamic equilibrium. We're going from chaos into organization. We're becoming our energy is able to renew itself rather than breaking down, falling apart. Now, this doesn't mean we're going to all of a sudden one day wake up and become some superhuman that's going to live forever. But as a collective, we're moving back towards this light body, lighter frequency, more energy moving through the template. And as that happens, we become more self-sustainable. And this is also a play on words talking about the environment. If we are becoming self-sustainable, we're not relying on, and this has to do with the state that the guides were saying earlier, playing on the words, that was an old system that was pulling on our energy. It was a, I think, closed system. We're opening and we're becoming self-sustainable, which means we are not necessarily we're not relying on what we've been told we have to rely on to sustain ourselves. That's an old paradigm. We're getting back to the heart of matter, the heart of the matter of fact. The facts in which we are operating, that's a play on words, are changing because our template and the processes by which we process information, energy, nutrition is up-leveling. Therefore, because we are evolving, so too does everything else around us. We are that point in the middle of the circle. And from that center space, everything reflects back to us our own self-sufficiency and sustainability. And so we come into this equilibrium, balance, and flow that allows us to stabilize our space. And this has a ripple effect, and that goes out through the field, and so on and so forth, right? So how long will this take? I don't know. It could happen overnight. It could happen that quickly. And I know some teachers talk about the flash and all of this. I haven't really, I have to go back into some of the things I've written and see what the guides have to share about that. This is just more about realizing it's already happened within enough of us that it's only going to continue to do this. And eventually this molecular stabilization will occur, and it will come into an equilibrium and a dynamic flow in which we exchange energy in a different way. And then it changes how we understand how we exchange energy. And then it changes, and so on and so forth. So there was more, but I'm going to end on that note. In love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Namaste.